Mayor Henyard fired her chief of police late last year without any approval from the village board. So now Robert Collins has filed a lawsuit.
You could feel the anger tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township. The board and citizens looking for accountability to their finances while the township supervisor.
Prepare yourself for this tale features some of the most outlandish public antics you'll hear about in small-town politics, as well as a super mayor at odds with her own city's lavish spending that has left Dolton drowning in debt. The self-proclaimed mayor of Dolton, Illinois, Tiffany Henyard, returning to the public front, but not for the reasons you might anticipate from someone who is meant to be in charge of her town. Instead, we're becoming caught up in a scandal that has left locals indignant. Allies are mending her from head to toe, and taxpayers are asking what is happening in Dolton.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No.
Let's start with Henyard's most recent community event, when she distributed food boxes while preparing a flurry and doing her best to make a good impression. The only issue is that folks are tired of it, and her goodwill efforts aren't working anymore. Henyard's food distributions are meant to be her major means of reestablishing her relationship with the public, particularly as the pressure from all of these charges continues to mount. However, for many, it feels like a flimsy attempt to win back their trust, as if she's covering a huge wound with a bandage and hoping no one will notice.
One way that the government always does it is to go and investigate people around her, and that's what they're doing.
People were rolling their eyes behind her smile and public display, viewing this as just another PR gimmick in a string of diversionary tactics from the real issues facing Dolton. At one of her recent events, she proudly stood in front of Dolton's community members, handing out boxes of food that she said had been carefully chosen to help the community. Those who were once her devoted friends and supporters are no longer there. In fact, they are part of the growing number of people who publicly criticize her leadership. Many of her former supporters have even taken to public gatherings and the media to express how disenchanted they are with her leadership, attending meetings only to question her choices.
Please tell me how you're out of order. You're out of order. How do they operate?
On one occasion, witnesses said she was not taking it well because some of these were her closest allies, people she relied on to support her goals. Now they are leading the movement against her, almost emanating from her as she attempted to maintain appearances. One would think that she would recognize the mounting hostility and perhaps even allay their worries, but Henyard had other ideas.
Now she's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
Her response to the criticism has been double down. That's correct. Instead of stepping back to reassess, she has increased her spending to a new level. We're talking about a mayor who, with her town already in debt by several $1 million, has been going on extravagant dining, luxury hotels, and let's not forget, the eye-watering shopping spree. For a town that is facing a deficit of almost $5 million, these expenditures feel like a slap in the middle class. Locals, and to illustrate the extent of this spending hole, consider the now famous Amazon splurge. She spent more than some people's entire yearly salary in January 2023 after Henyard charged over $33,000 on Amazon. But that's not all. She made several purchases in a single day totaling tens of thousands of dollars on unidentified items. And then she hosted a lavish party that cost about $85,000 and featured well-known R&B artists.
Make a one day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon. And the main thing is, what is it?
Residents are incensed that the money could have been used to repair deteriorating infrastructure, fund schools, or even just pay off some of the debt. But instead, they are left to pay for her extravagant lifestyle. One town official put it this way: "It's like she's living in a completely different reality while we're paying the bills." Cost additionally, and with a valid reason, these purchases raise questions about accountability and receipts. In some cases, receipts are either non-existent or so ambiguous that it is nearly impossible to determine what was purchased or why it was necessary. These transactions have even drawn the attention of federal investigators, who have begun to examine Dolton's financial records to determine the extent of this financial scandal. Whole of rabbits.
Out to here a few times to serve them for a household that makes, over $350,000 a year.
Even though locals are becoming more vocal, Penn's response has remained largely unrepentant. She has been spotted at Dolton's council meetings frequently, looking irritated with those who question her spending, according to insiders. Henyard says her expensive trips and events serve a larger purpose, insisting they're necessary to attract investment to Dolton. But many locals point out that the supposed benefits of her expensive travels and parties are nowhere to be seen in their everyday lives, leading them to doubt any real. Particularly as her extravagant spending has sparked a lot of clever criticism from the community. One internet commenter said, "These remarks highlight the significant gap between Tiffany Henyard's public image and her detractors' growing dissatisfaction." One person compared her to that little dog that can't stop barking all day and all night, while another made fun of her unique style, saying, "I can never ever unsee her as Lil Wayne in an orange wig." Residents are using humor to voice their disbelief and sense of betrayal at their mayor's behavior.
Coming in, unfortunately, we knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. But like I said, you have just some accountability.
Her administration's lack of transparency regarding these costs is another source of annoyance. Records pertaining to the mayor's spending have been difficult for journalists to access. Many are missing or insufficient, and some officials have cited ambiguous or subpar. These secrecy techniques are another blow to the taxpayers' faith, demonstrating that the mayor's leadership style is everything but open. The documented credit card statements contain everything from upscale hotels to unified dinners at Decor Roland.
Is shameful. Y'all are a disgrace.
We're watching the fall of this administration.
And if the expenditure wasn't sufficient to keep people up to speed, consider how Henyard uses the police force as her personal security team. Instead of patrolling the streets to protect the community, these officers follow Henyard around for private errands, public events, and other occasions. In other words, a police officer is there more as her bodyguard than as a public servant for a small town that is struggling to make ends meet. The locals are sick of seeing this kind of resource allocation. Their tax money is used to fund her safety, encourage rather than patrol their neighborhoods or respond to actual emergencies. It doesn't end there. There have been reports that her security detail has been used to intimidate residents when she pulls up with a full squad of officers by her side, silence critics, and keep the media at bay. Journalists have also been turned away from public gatherings.
2 agendas, 2 meetings in different locations. It was a little confusing for some residents, but the meeting here at Village Hall canceled after a few minutes because they didn't have a...
Her security team's criticism extends beyond local journalists and citizens. Some have accused her of using the police force to harass and threaten individuals, particularly those who have publicly challenged her leadership, although town officials themselves claim they are being singled out. According to one trustee, Henyard cops even accompanied her on a trip, providing her with tickets in response to reprisal. Another cop reportedly acknowledged that he was instructed to target anyone who wasn't participating in Henyard's game. On top of that, the additional expenses from all of this police overtime total $1 million. Yes, Dolton is dealing with basic maintenance problems like water main breaks. The majority of the funds are allocated to Henyard's personal safety.
Our security firm, we made sure they had wands, and we also told our board to come upstairs due to the fact they had several ways to exit out of the building.
Speaking of water, talking about water main breaks, a significant infrastructure breakdown occurred in Dolton only last week, which some claim was caused by poor management and the Henyards' misaligned goals. In spite of all the scandals, residents are worried about basic services, but instead they are getting a mayor who prioritizes her personal safety over the welfare of her community. Let's face it, for those who have lost faith in her, this is just another instance of Henyard putting herself ahead of the town she was elected to serve. And it's not like she isn't aware of the mounting opposition. She chose to run for re-election. In order to maintain her super mayor persona, she has invested in large billboards showcasing her image, social media campaigns, and tightly control public appearances. It's not working with voters, who see her ostentatious campaigns and staged events as another sign of her disconnect from Dolton's reality. In her world, it's all about the image, but for the people of Dolton, it's about who's actually working to improve their lives and Howard's failing the test.
Here because I'm at wit's end and I fear that I'm going to go into foreclosure soon if I can't get this matter handled.
Trustee Jason House, one of her primary rivals, has openly criticized her leadership, even going so far as to establish an alternative slate of candidates named Clean Housey in an effort to restore true accountability and transparency to Dolton House. His team is gaining momentum with their message of change, and they're not holding back when it comes to calling for out Henyard's dubious choices. Some locals have even joined their campaign to express their dissatisfaction and hope for a new beginning in local government, while others who previously supported her feel deceived and are supporting anyone who is prepared to question her authority.
I believe strongly that that meeting was improperly called and improperly held. The residents of
For individuals who are still undecided with numerous public controversies and ongoing federal investigations, Henyard's re-election bid has only increased tension. Her campaign has been marred by scandal and uncertainty, leaving Dolton residents to wonder if the town can afford another 4 years of Henyard's leadership, or if the truth will catch up with her. Residents are more outspoken than ever about their disapproval of the federal investigation. Will they choose accountability and transparency, or will Henyard be able to maintain her position of power in spite of the odds? This election has the potential to completely alter Dolton's future. Share your opinions with us in the comments section. Please share, like, and subscribe for more in-depth analyses of today's most disturbing events. What would you do if this were your town and the Henyard supermayor's actions were merely a diversion from the reality of her leadership?